CQDX, CQDX, CQDX. This is Havana calling. CQDX, CQDX, CQDX. This is Radio Havana calling all shortwave listeners and radio amateurs. Welcome to... DXers Unlimited, Radio Havana's weekly feature dedicated to the fascinating world of radio communications.
Hi, amigos of radio aficionados all around the world. I am your amigo Arnie Coro in sunny and very dry La Havana, Cuba, where I confirm that this spring trouble ducting season has proven to be very poor one so far. Something due to the abnormal weather patterns observed during the 2017 so far. Very abnormal weather patterns, possibly related to climate change. Now, there are just 6 more weeks left before the hopefully rainy season begins. Usually, by the middle of May, it starts, and by the way, it will last for the whole summer. By the way, once the rainy season starts, we have to deal with thunderstorms almost every afternoon here over the Cuban archipelago. That is why radio amateurs and shortwave listeners are always reminded to disconnect their equipment from the antennas and also from the electricity power outlets. Damages from a direct hit coming from lightning are very destructive indeed. But if you do follow the standard procedure of disconnecting all your radios and accessories after finishing using them, or when even the slightest sign of an incoming thunderstorm is heard, will help you save your equipment from possible damages caused by lightning. If you are now listening using a shortwave radio receiver, chances are very slight that you are picking up signals using a home-built radio. Very few people do it that way. But let me add that according to a recently received email message from listeners of DXers Unlimited, there are now more and more Radio Havana fans that are homebrewing their radios, making their own receivers at home. And this is good news in my opinion, because home-built radios are one of the 93 different ways to very much enjoy this wonderful hobby. Yours and mine goes by the name of radio. Item 2, just 3 very common transistors, a germanium crystal diode, and a few other parts. When properly assembled, we produce a certainly very useful little shortwave radio receiver. Of course, that you could try using the very high gain early days germanium transistors, which are few and far apart, but high gain, low cost silicon NPN transistors like the ubiquitous N2N2222 and 2N3904, which are plentiful, have proven to work very well. In a version of a regenerative receiver that now has become very popular among homebrewers. Another thing, because it does not use rare, hard-to-find parts or integrated circuits that are much more difficult to handle and to solder than discrete individual electronic parts. But I must admit that the path to achieving a home-built, sensitive, and also selective receiver is a lot easier nowadays to transit using the above-mentioned silicon transistors and the regenerative detector. By the way, let me add that just in case you may have still at home 1 or 2 old transistor radios that were sold during the 1950s and early 1960s, be aware that they are now considered to be valuable collector's items, some of them becoming very expensive, or like a radiola or an water camp from the early days of vacuum tube radios. Now, solid-state early days radios are becoming collector's items and proportionally expensive. Just for your information again, the first commercial transistor radio sold in the U.S. was the Regency TR1 that was offered during the year 1954 at the price of $49.95, which is, according to a friend of mine that specializes in monetary matters, equivalent to be about $400 of today. The Regency TR1 uses 4 germanium metal transistors made by Texas Instruments. By the way, it is a well-known fact that radio frequency performance of early days transistors was very poor, and frequencies above maybe 3 or 4 megahertz. So, the first transistor radios had no shortwave reception or FM band receiving capabilities at all. Amigos, DXers Unlimited Weekend Edition will continue in just a few seconds after a short break intended to be a station ID break. I am your host, Arnie Coro, Radio Amateur 02KK, in sunny and very dry for the past several weeks, Havana, Cuba. Sí, amigos, yo Amateurs. This is Cuba's twice weekly Radio Havana program, to go by the name of DXers Unlimited, with yours truly, Arnie Coro, at the microphone. And here's now our next Radio Havana item. You can contact me directly by sending an email to info@enet.cu. Please pass along your name, logs, and Radio Havana related questions so that we can share them with other listeners of the program that will surely enjoy them. And now, the next topic. Low-power laser beams generated by pointers used for teaching purposes can reach amazing distances due to the coherent characteristics of a laser beam. Many radio amateurs are now experimenting with low-cost laser pointers and associated optical equipment to establish line-of-sight communications at record-breaking distances. It can be achieved when the path between the laser transmitter and a telescope aiming at it is in the clear. So you have just heard about yet another one of the 93 different ways that we can enjoy this wonderful hobby. Laser beams, modulating laser beams generated by low-cost laser pointers that can support many types of communication modes, from a classic CW Morse code radio telegraphy signal to broadband high-definition video signals. Now, item 4. It is a well-known fact that the 2 meters amateur band is the most popular ham radio frequency assignment here in Cuba. And now something very nice is happening, because many of those who have held this start-up third-class amateur radio license that allows operation on the 2 meters band are building simple one-band HF band transceivers to start exploring the short wave bands too. And once again, talking about transistors, at our radio club on Friday, the Friday evening weekly roundtable on the 2 meters FM repeater, we discussed recently about very simple shortwave radios that could be built using just 3 transistors that uses many parts that were recycled from broken down equipment. We ended up by describing on the air during the roundtable the kitchen 3x4 transistors regenerative receiver that one Radio Havana Cuba listener who lives in Pennsylvania, USA, is using to pick up our 6,000 kilohertz signals late in the evening. By the way, the distance from Havana, Cuba to his QTH in Pennsylvania is approximately 1,300 miles. A very simple circuit uses a tuning coil that is wound using a small length of 1-inch diameter PVC plumber's pipe at the coil point, or you can use a plastic medicine pill container also at the coil point. No need to find ferrite or powered iron toroids for this radio. By changing the number of turns on the coil, you can select the tuning range of greatest interest for you. For example, exploring the frequency range from about 4.5 to 10 megahertz will bring a lot of stations during the local evening hours, even with a just very small antenna. I will keep you all up to date, because this seems to be a very viable project that could be assembled on top of the kitchen counter or a small table, and the prototype is powered with either a 9 volts battery, not recommended because they are expensive, or by using 6 series connected AA metal hydride. This is the nickel metal hydride cells that yield about 1.3 volts per cell when fully charged. And believe me, that they will last a long time, because the labels say that they are rated, in this case of the one I was using, at 2,000 milliampere hours, enough to keep the little radio working for several months without the need to recharge the batteries. Send for the circuit diagram of Arnie Coro's version of Charles Kitchen 3 transistors regenerated shortwave radio, a proven design. Send your request to info@enet.cu. Again, info@, the symbol for enet, Echo November Echo Tango, enet.cu. And I will be sending the simple circuit diagram and some building instructions for you. Solar plugs passed the 85 units mark on Friday. That's good news. It went up from the very low 70 units of many days ago. This is an indication that the sun is starting to enter into another upward swing of activity, something that forms part of every solar cycle, the ups and downs. More high-frequency propagation updates and forecasts will follow in our middle of the week, Tuesday and Wednesday UTC broadcast, amigos. And don't forget to send your signal reports, copies of your shortwave or AM broadcast band logs, or notes about your most recent amateur radio activities to Arnie Coro, Radio Havana Cuba, Havana Cuba, or via email to info@enet.cu.
And that's all for today. This is Arnie Coro, Radio Amateur CO2KK, your host here at Radio Havana DXers Unlimited, saying 73 and very good DX.
Now,